Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. Thank you for joining us. You look lovely today. Have you done something new with your hair? It looks great. I'm your host, Rich Owens. It's a pleasure to be here. And the only thing more enjoyable than being here is being joined by the people I am joined by. The FM team is back. We have Kev and we have Jeb. I'm delighted to see you both. I'm going to start with the sunniest looking man in the world. It's a grey, horrible day here, but for some reason on the south coast of England, beautiful sunshine is shining on the face of the most beautiful man in the world. How are we, Kev?
I don't know what's happened. I'm doing great, thank you, Rich. I'm glad to be here, but I genuinely don't know what's happened. So behind me, you can see there's a staircase, and at the top of the staircase, there's a sort of sunlight windowy thing, and I think the sun has basically gone and sat on it because it's just flooding in, and I can't. There's nothing to cover it up. I haven't got a curtain on it or anything like that, or a blind or anything. So it's just streaming in. It feels like the sun is sitting directly above me, but there we go. It is what it is. Apologies for anyone watching on YouTube, although it might iron out some of the issues that I've got with my face, so who knows. But yeah, I'm good, happy to be here. Hope you're doing great yourself, Rich. I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Lovely. I mean, you look beautiful. I mean, there's no denying it. You look terrific. I think it's just because I'm based in the Midlands and I'm looking out of my window at the moment, and it's grey and it's foggy and it looks miserable. And then just looking over, I'm not convinced that Kev just hasn't gone on his holidays and not told us. Like, I don't think. I think all of this, Kev's. I stream from my living room. I think it's just a backdrop. I think you just take it wherever you
green
go.
Green screen, yeah.
Yeah, it's a beach screen. Yeah, Kev is sat on a beach in Santa
2 inches either side of me. It disappears and there's beach behind me. It's lovely.
Exactly. It's like Mayor Quimby in that Simpsons episode. Somebody's going to walk across the camera with a steel drum any second. And the person I'd like to see doing that is Jeb. How are you, friend?
That's probably your worst segue of the entire
time. I think that was a terrible one, personally. But yeah,
verbally, awful segue. But the imagery of just Jeb's walking across in front of Kev, playing a little steel drum. Oh, delightful.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. It's another Saturday morning. There's to be fair, this time last week we were talking about football and were Man United going to get beat by City, and it worked out all right. Liverpool playing Chelsea this afternoon, so hopefully positive results for me. We'll see where we get. But yeah, long week. We got some Pescara out the way last night, and we've also started a little lower league save. We've been playing around with some various things. But yeah, I think I'm quite excited to get on with today, especially the content that's coming later.
There you go. That's like, it makes it sound ominous.
See, you got to stay.
Yeah. Right to the very end, because you never know what we're going to say at the very end.
Yeah. There will be a quiz on today's episode, and if you don't pass it, then you've got to retake the whole thing. So it's going to be a nightmare. So I've been on a health and safety course, or you can first aid, so you can tell there's just. At some point, I'm going to nod to the camera, like this is vital information that you may want to write down, which is exactly what my first aid trainer has been doing all week. So, really good at remembering quiz answers. Am I good at retaining the information I've learnt this week? Who knows? But if anybody does go down, exactly.
Bend your knees.
Exactly. Bend your knees when I lift. If there is a first aid emergency during today's episode, I can put either of you in the recovery position really, really well. So we've got that to look forward to.
Might take you a couple of hours to get to me first, but okay.
It's all right. Well, I'll get you on a Discord call and I'll talk to you the whole way through. Everything will be fine.
I'm not sure you'll make it down there because you'll probably be dazzled by the sunshine. By the looks
true.
So.
Just follow the light, Rich. Walk towards the
light. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Just beaming down directly onto Kev's house. It's like the beginning of a Mr. Bean episode. Just a really bright shaft of sunlight. Kev needing assistance underneath it. Beautiful. What a powerful image. We've conjured up some imagery this morning already. What a time to be alive. As Jeb says, we have got some spicy content because Rich had an idea this week. Rich had an idea, which Rich assumed everybody knew as much as him about, which we've learnt this morning. Wasn't necessarily the case, but as I say, we'll move on to that shortly. But as Jeb said, you've teased us. You've teased us there with a little bit of information about what's been going on Pescara and a lower league save that you're doing. I would like to know more. So the floor is yours, my friend. Take us away.
So I'll start with the lower league stuff. I've been traveling around a bit, and I downloaded the Tier 10 database a couple of months ago, and I finally delved into it. So I've delved in as Carlton Town, which is effectively my local club. A shout out to Dean Gripton, actually. He's he writes in their fanzine and various other things, works for FM. Just a lot of research, like on the research side of things. Also, as I've been chatting to Mozza, because Mozza's starting to form his own football team, Tula Body, I think. Probably
something
just
like
murdered that name. Yeah, I've murdered that name in some shape or form.
I can write it. I can't say it.
Yeah, we were chatting about content on it, and Carlton Town, like they have a YouTube channel, and it's very nice. Like they do interviews and stuff like that. But my favourite part is there's no editing to those thingies. So what happens before every single interview is a 2-minute pause where the guy just stares at the camera and waits for the other person just to go, yep, go. And every single time, and all I was doing was clicking through every video and watching the various different pauses that they do beforehand. And it's just a little bit awkward. And it's just like, oh, this is great lower league stuff. Like I said, I can be critique on my director and broadcast side of things, but it's just actually quite good content when it comes down to it. So I'll start with them. Lower leagues are really hard, aren't they? I've just like when you're playing part-time, trying to find anybody to play for you is quite difficult because you've got no money to sign anyone. It's like, oh, I want 200 quid. I've got 20. How's that sound? No? Oh, okay. I want 200 quid. I've got 20. How does that sound? No? Oh, okay, fair enough. Luke Chadwick. I've got 20 quid. He was like, yeah, I'll come down for it. Luke Chadwick, at 41 years of age, is playing on the right wing for Carlton Town. I've not won a game. I'm 6 games in. It's not going very well. And a lot of the players are getting a bit disgruntled at me fining them every week because they're pretty poor. The one thing that I've noticed on this part of it is I seem to be conceding like late goals. We've drawn 5 games because we conceded them last like 80 to 90 minutes. So I'll probably need to revisit my tactics. You can't play the free-flowing football down in Tier 8 with them. But that's where that one's been going. I'm quite keen. I'm spending a lot of time away from home in the next couple of weeks, so I'll probably be delving into that a little bit further. Whereas Pescara, obviously I was raving about how amazing the game is and I'm winning everything on that side of things. So when you last spoke to me, Vigani had just left me. We'd won 15 out of 20 of the games that we played in Serie B. We were sitting top and pretty. We sold Vigani, we brought in Zlatan, he didn't start very well, and then we won 4 games for the rest of the season. Absolute capitulation for the rest of the season. We ended up finishing 5th. Zlatan got better and better. Like at one stage he was playing like Andrea Pirlo in attacking midfield position, just putting balls through, putting assists in. I think he ended up with 7 assists by the end of the season, a couple of goals. And Vigani, who left, I think I checked the date earlier, left on the 16th of January, finished as top scorer in Serie B with 26 goals in 21 games, which is quite impressive. Like, so I was really impressed that way. We ended up finishing 5th. I thought, oh, that was it because we didn't finish in the top 2, but they have a little playoff, so we played Sassuolo, and it kind of just summed up the way the end of my season was. Why my right back putting in the most perfect cross for Domenico Berardi for Sassuolo to go ahead in the 89th minute. Like, he turned back, he had a defender stood next to him, could have easily just passed that ball across. No, didn't work. Sad news, Zlatan's now retired, but more positive news as we go into the new season. He is now my head of under-18s, and he's got some phenomenal staff attributes. I'm literally just going to hand that team to him. He can look after all these young wonder kids that we're going to bring through. We've got some interesting players that we signed as well. We signed a guy called O'Shaughnessy, Daniel O'Shaughnessy. He's a Finnish international. It doesn't sound very Finnish. I don't know how he's ended up being a Finnish international, but there we are. We signed him. He's been all right. He's been, like I said, my defenders just seem to lack to impress. We've also got another one, Vogliacco, who we signed last season, who was absolutely brilliant for us, finished with an average of 7.2. But now all those teams are circling around him. Vigani, however, went to Lorient. He started 1 game, came on a sub 15 times and scored 1 goal. They've just wasted him. They've ruined him already. Might be able to get him back on loan. Who knows where we go. But we're going to another series in Serie B. It would have been nice to get back-to-back promotions, but we'll see where we go. I think my main worry, again, we're in 5 million quid worth of debt already, despite us all getting out of that. but the chairman is looking to sell, so we'll see how it goes. I've got a feeling a wage budget decrease is coming my way, so I'll probably need to offload and think about which way we go with that. I think Zlatan, yeah, it worked out all right. I can't find another striker to replace Vigani. We signed Dan Undundulu, who I actually had at... where did I have him? I had him at Forest Green FM21. He's a 5'11" target forward. He can head the ball. He's got a bit of jumping reach to him. But every time I played him up front, he somehow ended up in defensive midfield. Like, every single time I was like, what are you doing? Get back up. Like, I was looking at his position and it's not terrible. He just kept on ending up like just in front of the defenders. Like, what you do? Get back up there. Get back up. And he wouldn't, so I had to drop him for somebody else. The other thing that I've noticed is that throw-ins are so broken on the game. This is just a reminder to myself. I'm going to put in a bug report for it. I spent about 10 minutes setting up all my long throw-ins, and every time I went to a long throw-in, there was nobody stood where they should have been. It always ended up being my right back. My right back was always in the box. I was like, why are you always in the box? You should be staying back. They're not even stay back if needed. You're stay back. Don't go anywhere. But he just decided to go up front, and the amount of goals are conceded because we did a poor throw-in and they just hoofed it up front. That right back's exposed. Nice and simple, easy goals for opposition teams. So I just turned off all throwing instructions. I went, yeah, just throw it in. Just do what you want to do. Do whatever you want to do. Don't follow any instructions because you can't. But I think they are actually genuinely broken on the game. So I will put in a bug report today for that. So that's where we are with that. Yeah.
I've got a question,
coming.
if I may.
Yeah, of course.
It's been a concern of mine. So last night, as we record the podcast, I was in on Jebbaru's stream for a little while, and I've been lying awake all night about it. Jeb, I can't cope. Did Zlatan retire because of an amputation to one of his legs? Because the challenge I saw on him in the middle of the game looked like he was just absolutely going to be rushed to hospital and amputated a leg straight away.
No, he bruised his thigh.
Assure me he's okay.
Yeah, he was fine. He bruised his thigh. He played in the next game. It was spectacular the way he went down. I mean, I've never seen the animation. He had a tackle and he just kind of folded to his knee, then just folded on the floor, and then was lying on the floor. And I don't know how.
Writhing
maybe because it was Zlatan. I think we're on key highlights, but it showed the physio coming on to help him. It showed the physio taking him off the pitch. It was just like, oh god, this might be the retirement. Like,
I mean, he was 42 years old. It's you know.
But my favourite part was he did come back on, and we had an attack, and he was playing as target forward at the time, and I think the right back hoofed it up to him. And I was like, oh, this is it. He's going to nod it down. He was stood on the D of the 18-yard box, and he headed it out for a throw-in.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so
football manager, you gotta love it, ain't you?
No, exactly. Just like get all that hope up. Oh, it's gonna. Yeah.
But I'm glad that he was all right, because I've been worried about him because it looked so nasty, you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think, like I said, him as under 18 manager could be actually quite special. He's got 15 working with youngsters, but he's also got quite a lot of really nice coaching attributes, and then adaptability of 20, and his judging player potential and ability will be good. So if I can keep hold of him down there as my youth development supremo, that'd be amazing.
Absolutely. And you know what, mate, I'm really looking forward to coming back in a couple of weeks and sitting down and chatting to you and finding out all about how Vigani's come back on loan and he's just picked up where he left off. And I hope that you get him back on loan forever and then get to sign him back on a free, because that is the most satisfying element of any football manager save. Sell a hot youth prospect, doesn't get the game time where they've gone, and then just permanently loan them back forever until their contract runs out and they want to come back to you. Which in Italy, given recent news about Juventus, is actually in hindsight so you might want to keep an eye on. So yeah, don't do that. Don't listen to me. Terrible idea. Awful idea. No, legitimate transfers only, please and thank you moving forwards, Jeb. Mate, lovely stuff. I'm enormously excited to hear about how that carries on in the next couple of weeks' time. Promotions. I can see it happening, especially with Zlatan in charge of the Ute. But that kind of brings us nicely on to the main kind of the crux of today's episode, because it's, and again, this is a really interesting look behind the curtain for you, the viewer or the listener. Normally we record this podcast and then I get to editing and we do all the bits and pieces, and that is when I decide the name of each episode. This is arguably the first time ever we've gone into a record where I've already know what the episode is going to be called. If you've noticed, it's called Ledley Kings League because my latest hyperfixation in the world of football is what Gerard Piqué is doing over there in that Spain at the moment. He's retired. He's been Shakir has left him, and he's handled that brilliantly by setting up his own six-a-side league, which is just peak, is your dad okay behavior, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Gerard Piqué set up it's called the Kings League. It's based over in Spain, and it's just a six-a-side football league where former players keep turning up. I think some current players have turned up, and also there's a guy in a lucha libre mask playing football. It's bonkers, and I love it. I absolutely love it. There have been loads of rumors about who the masked player is. We were chatting just before we went on air about, there's some rumors that it's a current La Liga player whose club haven't given him permission to come and play for Gerard Piqué in his six-a-side league. There are also rumors that it's just some guy, because as Jeb quite rightly pointed out, apparently he's rubbish at football. So it's who knows, but it's brilliant marketing. I absolutely love it because, in my heart, I just love six-a-side football. I think everybody at some point, or most people, have probably tried to play a little bit. And if you have my level of skill, six-a-side is probably about as good as you ever got. I used to play for a local pub team back in my younger days, and I convinced them that I was really, really good at football by having one semi-decent game in a six-a-side league, and then got progressively worse over the next couple of months to the point where the captain of the team messaged me on the day of the last game of the season saying that due to everybody being really, really ill, they were forfeiting the game, so we weren't playing tonight. And I went, oh, okay, fair enough. So I took an extra shift in the pub that I was working at, and it was the pub that the team played for. And halfway through my shift, the team came in their football kits, having just gone and played a game of six-a-side.
Wow, that's harsh.
Isn't it though? Harsh. Isn't it? Do you know though? They won 5-0. So you're welcome, Saracens head six-a-side football league team from 2011. Yeah. You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. I did you a favor by not turning up. So good for them. Good for them. I wish that was a bit. That's a genuinely true story that haunts me. I mean,
if you've got 5-a-side or 7-a-side stories, I'm still haunted by the Saltaire Cup final, where we played. Who did we play? Played the Army Reserves actually in the final. We actually made it through. Me and my friends and stuff along those lines. We lost 2-1, which is fine. Like we never really had a goal scorer between us. To be fair, like I was apparently a forward who came on occasionally. I was never any good, but this was in the goals that were just slightly about the half height goals. Is that the best way to call them? Like classic 5-a-side goals. It was in them. The keeper our keeper got lobbed from the halfway line. Those goals.
Wow, that is spectacular.
Yeah, it was a spectacular way. Obviously, everyone's still scarred. We, like I said, I don't think we cut ties with him, but we did stop speaking to him for after a while. After that, it was that type of way. Like,
wow. Yeah. Every time Jeb sees an Army Reserve member, he just claps, just in case it was well done.
Exactly.
But what we've done, because I'm nowhere near good enough to play football anymore. Even though I'm at my peak footballing years at 24, it's not for me. It's not for me. So what we've done between us, I set the FM team a little bit of homework this week. Set them a bit of homework. What we have done is we have each created our own six-a-side Kings League team. Now, the parameters were thus. I asked the guys to pick 3 players who are still playing professional football. So 3 current players who have at some point played in Spain. So it doesn't matter if it was a single substitute appearance off the bench. It doesn't matter if they have played their entire career there. They just have to have at some point played professional football in Spain. The next remit are 2 players who have retired, so 2 former players who have also at some point played in Spain. And then to finish the team off, to round it off nicely, a wild card. A wild card. This can be anybody, any sixth man. Doesn't even have to be a footballer. It can be anybody they like. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell each other our six-a-side teams. And then at the end of the episode, once this has gone live, we'll do one of our lovely Twitter polls. And you, the audience, will decide who has got the best six-a-side team. I'm excited. I like this kind of nonsense. And because I'm excited, I'm going to start. So I think the way we can do it is if we do our 3 current players, our 2 retirees, and then we'll all finish on our wild cards. Are we both comfortable with that as a format, gentlemen?
Indeed.
Yeah, sure.
Lovely. There was nodding originally for the audio listeners, which I'm awful for doing myself. So that was me nodding. So I'm going to start off. Yes, I am nodding. We'll get audio descriptive subtitles for one of these episodes. We'll just get somebody with a really, really gentle voice to do them. It'll be really, really
Kev
nice.
holds his head in his hands and weeps. That's what they say.
There it is. Kev's going to do them. It's going to be brilliant, as he's also partaking in the episode. So player number 1 for me. Player number 1. I'm also going to work my way from the back forwards because I've really, really put some effort into this. So player number 1 for me, I'm going for a defender. Shockingly enough, it is somebody who is still playing football in real life. They are no longer playing in Spain, where they spent the vast majority of their career. My first player, the first player in my six-a-side team, I'm going for, in my opinion, accidental left back Marcelo, former Real Madrid and Brazil international Marcelo, because I love him. Because he is not a left back. He has never been a left back. He does not have the attributes to play at left back in real life. He's a wonderful dribbler. He's a wonderful passer. He's got a shot on him. I just get the feeling that, when it came to picking a position to play professional football in, I think his dad just dropped him off late at that first practice, and he got there and he's like, right, where am I going to play? Am I going to play up front? Am I going to play out on the right? What am I going to do? Am I going to play behind the striker? They're like, oh, sorry, Marcelo. Those positions are taken. All we've got is left back. You can wait a year or you can try it there. And he went, oh, go on then. I'll be a left back if I have to be a left back. But in my heart, I'm Jarzinho. And I adore him. I think he's still playing out in Greece. I think he's playing for Olympiacos at the moment. So he does count. But he is my first player. Defender, bit tricky, can get up and down the very, very small pitch. I'm into that as a core concept, and I think I've done really well. Good for me. Kev, where would you like to start with your team?
So I'm going to start in the completely opposite end of the pitch, up in the striking position. And I will just preface my picks by saying I had absolutely no idea what Rich was talking about in our Discord this week. Literally none whatsoever. Didn't know it existed. Didn't know Gerard Piqué had done anything. He told me, can you pick 6 players to make up a 6-man squad in this kind of setup with players, ex-players, anybody you like, that kind of stuff? And I went, yep. And my competitive wee brain went, I want to pick the best team. So I've tried to pick the best team, maybe 1 or 2 not in there, but I don't think that you're going to get many from me that are completely obscure. And I don't have anybody under a mask that's actually a stand-up comic pretending to be a footballer or anything like that, I'm afraid. I've got footballers I want to win. So my first choice is a current player who has played in La Liga, who still plays in La Liga. He's blooming marvellous and very good, and I want Benzema as my striker, please. Thank you very much. I'm winning.
Yeah, that's a great shout, isn't it? He's, again, like one of those players who, like, throughout it, didn't necessarily get the plaudits that he deserved, throughout his career, and then now he's the main man. I think he's just gone and shown everybody just how wonderful he is. I think that's a great shout, Kev.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you are right. It's only in the last few seasons that he's properly got the credit I think he deserves. If you look at his record, it's pretty spectacular what he's done over his career in a lot of ways, specifically at Real Madrid. But he got overshadowed, didn't he, by Messi, Ronaldo, and all that kind of stuff in Spain for a long time. So I kind of understand why that's the case. But in the last couple of years, I'm glad that he's got the recognition. He has been a very, very good goal getter. And I think I'm also thinking about what it means to play in 6-a-side and the size of the pitch and the ask, etc. And I just think he's a real good goal getter. He will poach and he will do work and So he's my number 1 striker. Come on, the Karim.
I rate that very highly. Jeb, what about you, friend? Player number 1 for you.
It's my only Spanish player I think I've actually got in the squad, and I'm going. When you used to play 6-a-side, you always came up against those horrible, older, aggressive teams. Sergio Ramos, straight in there. He holds a disciplinary record for Real Madrid in the Champions League, La Liga, El Clasico as Spain national team. He's the most carded player in the Liga ever. He's obviously got sent off in many El Clasicos as well. He also cost Liverpool the Champions League with his attack on Salah, pulling his shoulder out of joint, getting him finger on that side of things. Yeah, he's just going to be a horrible, brutal defender at the back. That's the way he was. He's always been a horrible player, but also sometimes just a wonderful footballer as well. And he could stick a penalty away. He could always stick a penalty as well. His goal record is always phenomenal. I mean, I still remember the amount of headed goals he got and that type of thing. He was the original near post corner person, not just on FM but in real life. So yeah, Ramos is my pick there. That's my first pick.
Yeah, rate that very, very highly. There were, I definitely put a petition into to SI to nerf Sergio Ramos in real life. As you say, just lethal in the. I think he's one of the things I love about Sergio Ramos. I think he's got over 100 goals now for Real Madrid, which
he's
as a
I pulled up his wiki page. He's the 9th highest goal scorer for Spain.
It's incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible for a centre back. I think he started his career out at right back, but then he's predominantly been a centre back, for at least the last 12, 13 years. Like, incredible. And as you say, just horrible bastard, which is what you want as a centre back. Which, to be fair, mate, you've done that beautifully, because you've spoon fed me my second player as well. Because my second defender, again, he's a former La Liga player, no longer there, and I think arguably somebody who, on his day, made Sergio Ramos look like a volunteer at like the Macmillan Cancer Trust, because my second defender is Ramos's former defensive partner, Pepe. Big, horrible, brutal, just big Portuguese shithouse. Love it. Absolutely love it. He'd snap you, he'd hurt you, he'd work it. He's still doing it now. Oh, I love him. I love him. I think he's still at Porto now, because I think he went there after he left Madrid. And even it's one of those things when a player leaves a club like Madrid, generally speaking, if they're an older player, the expectation is they're going to start to wind down their career somewhere. You could make the argument that he is still as good as he was when he was playing for Madrid consistently in Portugal. I think he's still a phenomenal centre back. Horrible bastard. But that's what I want. If I've got the flair defender in Marcelo, I want the bipolar opposite of him next to him. And yes, Pepe is my boy. Horrible man that he is.
Can I go next, because I've also got Pepe in there, because obviously I've already said I'm doing a horrible thing, and like I said in my brief research that I've definitely not done this morning or while I've been sat here, it did remind me. He played a game against Levante like in the early 2010s, and he basically, somebody went to go past him and he just stuck his foot out, put it on his ankle. The guy went down the floor, so then he just booted him in the head. Didn't get sent off, which is bizarre. Okay. To the point where even Pepe said after the games, referees have to do their job, and they didn't tonight.
Outstanding. That's it, isn't it? It's like, it's one of those memories for me of Pep, like watching him play like at the highest level consistently with Madrid. There's that poster, isn't there? There's the Muhammad Ali poster where he's just stood like over like a flawed opponent, looking really, really angry. And that's how I remember Pepe, just stood above somebody that he's just absolutely scythed, and he's like, "Get up, come on, let me get you. Fine, you'll be fine. Get up." I love that. I absolutely love that. So we've got it. Well, Jeb and I have got a defense. Kev, where's player number 2 coming from yourself?
So we are still in the section of current players, are we not?
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be a current player. So I have two kind of flair players, I guess you'd call them, that are going to sit behind Benzema and provide him some stuff. One of them is an ex-player, so we'll get to him in a little while.
Mhm.
But the current performing player, sorry everybody, but it's an obvious one. I got to go Messi, but only because my thought for my team is that you don't need height in six-a-side. You need ball control in six-a-side and determination in the back line, etc. You don't need height. So mine are a fairly small bunch in a lot of ways. And I just think if you're going to put 6 people on a six-a-side pitch, you've got to have him. I mean, he's currently leading Ronaldo in the GOAT conversation by about 90 to 10%, I think it is currently, because of what Ronaldo's been doing over the last 6 months, and that's fine. But yeah, I think he's just ridiculously good. And in that tight confines of a six-a-side, surely he's going to be an absolute beast. So sorry and all, it's a bit of an obvious one, but I go for Messi because I want to win.
I don't think there's any need to apologise at all, Kev. No need to apologise at all. He is the greatest player of all time, isn't he? I don't even think that conversation is close. Just a phenomenal footballer. From his first minutes on the pitch for Barcelona, like to even now at PSG, just outstanding. And as you say, close confines. I can't think of a better player. I can't think of anybody you would want more, like with better ball control. The way he dribbles the ball, it's like it's glued to his foot. It's quite incredible. So not a bad shout there, Kev. Not a bad shout. Although you'd argue that I think Ramos and Pepe on Jeb's team are gonna, maybe have a few little digs at him. We'll see how he is come the end of the season. We'll see how bruised
Not
he is.
just them. Just.
But I mean, let's be totally fair here. The two of them actually tried. Let's be fair, and I think
true.
he probably won quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that is reasonable. Yeah, I think that I think that's a pretty formidable kind of front one with one behind already. Jeb, who's your third player? Who's because there was a subtle maybe not just the defense. Who else is going to be kicking lumps out of Lionel Messi in your 11?
Well, the one thing with Pepe as well, he can waste some time, and I think that was what I was going to write. If we want somebody to roll around in those last minutes and just waste some time because we were 1-0 up or something like that, that's perfect. Pepe will waste as much time you ever want. Like the levels of shedhousery, I think, will be nice. And actually, you've already said it. The levels of shithousery that he will provide is unbelievable. But we need strikers. We need a bit of bite in our strikers. Luis Suarez is in there for me. As a Liverpool fan, I know how good he can be. I know how great he can be. I also know how bad he can be in that type of way. Phenomenal as somebody with the ball close to his feet. When he was at Liverpool, I'd argue he was up there with Ronaldo and Messi, how good he was. He could change a game on his own. He was a phenomenal footballer. It's just all the other side of his game that really let him down on that way. When he was at Barca as well, like I said, he'd be a phenomenal striker. He will annoy all the opponents, and if he gets into a fight, Ramos and Pepe can come in and back him up. So it should be fine.
Let's face it, he will get into a fight.
Yeah, he will get into a fight.
As a backup.
He will get into a fight, exactly. And if you need a sub keeper, he's perfect. So it works really well. If you want to play rush goalie, he might work quite well for it.
Exactly. Yeah, you've put together. I mean, you started with Sergio Ramos and talking about how he's horrible defender, and just player on the pitch, just nasty, and then it's just got progressively worse. I think by pick number 6, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to just get darker and darker for Jeb, but I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. My third player again, and my final current player, played the vast majority of their career in Spain, but are no longer there. I've got a flair player in defence. I've got a big, horrible defender. What I want now is a bit of finesse in the middle, and I don't think it gets much better. If I want somebody in the middle of the pitch who can just, spread the ball around, a wonderful dribbler of the football as well, I don't think you can get any better than Andreas Iniesta. He's still doing bits and pieces in, I think, the second tier of Japanese football now. But he's still there. He's still playing football. That's what I had to check just before we went live, just because I wasn't 100% sure if he's retired or not. He has not. He's still playing out in Japan. Arguably, for my money, the best passer of a football I've ever seen. I don't think there are too many players. And bearing in mind, he was played the vast majority of his career alongside Xavi as well, who you could also argue is in that conversation. One of the best creative players to ever do it. I love Iniesta. I absolutely adore him. So for me, I don't think you could look for much more in terms of a central midfielder in that position. I think he's good.
Fair.
I think he's good. Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely. I mean, and he showed up in big games as well in his career, didn't he? World Cups and all sorts of stuff. Did bits
Champions
for the
League
teams.
finals.
Yeah, all that
exactly.
Sort of stuff.
Yeah.
He's spectacular guy, definitely.
Of course, yeah. Winning goal scorer in a World Cup final, actually.
I mean, let's face it. Yeah. All of these players, it does help if you play alongside Messi and Xavi and PK and all sorts of other great players in their positions, of course. But individually, they're there because they are the best in their spot as well, and he is definitely that.
Exactly. And as I say, a winning goal scorer in a World Cup final, so he's definitely gonna play for the shirt in this fancy six-a-side league that we're starting. So always good to know. Always good to know. Right, I think that is all three of us now have done our first three players, our three current players.
Kev got one.
Kev got one more. Oh, you have Kev. I mean, to be fair, your two are as good as my three combined anyway. So, it almost feels like cheating giving you an actual other player. But go on, mate. Who's number three on your list?
So we're moving slightly further back in the team. We'll get to my actual defender soon, but I want a combative midfielder type in there that then can transition the ball as well. Current player, but not playing in La Liga anymore. Anybody that knows me will probably figure it out a little bit because I watch him very, very regularly. Casemiro. And the reason I've gone Casemiro is because there was a conversation, I'm sure of it, in the United training ground where they brought Casemiro in as this bullish midfielder and they put him in their training ground and they watched him play in their friendly matches behind the scenes. And somebody went to the other one, what, he can actually pass as well? Because they never saw it at Madrid. He went, Modric, have a ball. And Modric went, thanks very much, and did something great with it. But apparently, here's the rub, Casemiro can play football as well as go and get the ball, which is quite spectacular, really. So, Casemiro sits just in my defensive stroke midfield setting, feeding my two flair players that are going to eventually feed Benzema, hunting down the ball, timing his tackles brilliantly, getting yellow cards just before we play Arsenal and getting a suspension, which is just unfortunate. But we'll still be okay. It'll be
great.
Fine.
I thought that was brilliant.
But that just shows his dedication to the cause. Playing Palace with the Arsenal game, he's still going to go and do his job, compete for everything, occasionally, pick up a yellow card, whatever. But what a great guy to have as your second type of defensive player that's going to transition. So Casemiro is in my 6.
Yeah, again, wonderful shout. Wonderful shout. Again, you could almost make the argument with a player like Casemiro that he's just now having his almost like Benzema-esque renaissance as a player. He spent the better part of nearly 10 years, I think, in that Madrid team, give or take. Always having players like, Luka Modric around, they're going to be doing the majority of that work for you. Going to a club like United, where suddenly you are almost like the star of that midfield, it just gives him it's that shop window to just showcase everything that he can do. Like I say, he can pass a football. He's more than just like your standard ball winning midfielder. And I love that.
Can he do that bit too?
Oh yes, and I love that story I read. I think it was after the Brighton game earlier in the season.
I think it was the Brentford game.
Oh, sorry, where we
lost twice very badly around there. Brighton and Brentford. It could have been either. I think it was a Brentford game.
And I think he messaged and he was like, "Just don't worry, tell them I can fix this." And I'm like, I love that. I love that. And he did. He just turned up and just made that midfield exponentially better overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, that's a really, really, really good shout. I like
I
that.
want
I
to
like that a lot.
win.
Yeah, I think I think you might based on this. There we go. So that's definitely out. All three of us have done our three current players. We're now moving into retirees territory. Possible legends of the game, because you never know. I'm excited again. There's so many phenomenal players to choose from here. Jeb, would you like to kick us off with your first retired player who at some point in their career did bits in Spain?
Yeah, of course. I'm just going to read off some quotes. He's a monster. One of the greatest players in history. A truly magnificent player. Greatest talent I've seen in football in the last 20 years. Kevin Keegan. He manipulates the ball. Buying himself space isn't there. His vision makes him very special. I don't know why Kevin Keegan's involved in all these quotes. I always laugh when Kevin Keegan appears like in any type of footballing quotes, because he's become a bit of a meme, hasn't he? Also, final quote is from Marco Materazzi. Ow, my chest. Ow. Ow. Yeah, it's Zinedine Zidane. He's big, he's brutal, but my word, he can play football. Honestly, he was growing up, he was phenomenal to watch. I used to love watching France play. I used to love watching Real Madrid play, and I used to hate playing Juventus and Real Madrid on Football Manager or Championship Manager, because he would rip me apart every single time. But just to sit in the midfield, he can hit one from long distance. He can run back and forth between the two boxes. He'll just be unbelievable for this team, and he can get involved in the fights as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think if you're gonna pick a midfield player who used to play in Spain, I don't really think you can look past Zinedine Zidane. One of the best footballers of all time. And again, getting sent off in a World Cup final, arguably the most, you can make a case that it is the most important game in world football every 4 years. Getting sent off because I think apparently Maserati said something about his sister, and just going, no, I'm just going to headbutt you in the chest.
A man of honor. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. He's playing for that badge in this Fantasy Six-a-side league, which Jebaru is also why he's in my team as well. So, which doesn't that's probably
you two and your matchups. I don't know.
Look at us go with our matching players. But I mean, you can't not though. I mean, if you're looking at players that have retired, and this is I think if this was a legitimate team, if these teams were actually going to exist and take part in this competition, I think for my money, Zidane is still going to be one of the best players in it. He's still wonderful. He's never lost it. You see all the training videos of him at Madrid. He's phenomenal, still phenomenal. You just don't lose it. It's like riding a bike, except he doesn't have to wear a helmet or do a cycling proficiency, because he's just really good. He gives the tests. He doesn't take the tests. He gives the tests. I love him. Absolutely love Zidane. Wonderful, wonderful player. Kev, who's your first retiree on your list?
Well, first off, just on the Zidane front, there's a little bit of a French connection, not to my pick, but something else I want to say is that I don't know what the age demographic of our listeners stroke viewers are, particularly with the FMT. I personally, I'm sitting in my 40s, so I'm a bit long in the tooth compared to some, I suspect. And you look at someone like
Richard, 24.
Well, yeah, exactly. You two being 24, I have to bring age and gravitas to the podcast for you young whippersnappers and all that lot, But the thing I want to say about Zidane, and it's the same about someone like, which is the French connection, like Eric Cantona. They both did something a bit nutty, kung fu kicking or headbutting or, all that kind of stuff. But they were both magnificent. But now, if you look back at them, most people growing up these days will see the kung fu kick or the headbutt and not the actual playing that they did. And you go further back than that and you get people like Maradona and Cruyff and then Pele and all those and we don't actually sit and watch them play because it's not as easily accessible. But they were magnificent footballers. they're not just the meme, as it were. So I think that's important to say to some of our viewers who maybe haven't seen them play as much. But my next one, I've got two that are my former players, one defender and one flair player alongside Messi up top. We're going to go defender first. So we've talked a little bit about the likes of Pepe and Ramos. PK obviously sets up the whole system to play the Kings League, which of course until this morning I didn't know. He's not in my starting lineup, but his partner in crime is Puyol.
Shakira.
Yeah, Shakira. I put her in my. Yeah, me and Shakira, we're like that, it's fine. But yeah, Puyol, Carlos Puyol's going in my team again for the reason why is. I think obviously defensively speaks for itself. He spent so many years playing at the top of the game, won everything there is to win, was a dogged, determined central defender. I'm not looking for height, hasn't got the height of someone like PK, but you don't need it in six-a-side. You need somebody that's got a reasonable touch on the ball, can go and get that ball. And he's also a really amazing leader of a team and will probably be the captain of my six-a-side football team. So that's why specifically I'm going for him. Defensive qualities, leadership qualities, and will drive a team forward. And so with him and Casemiro hunting the ball down, I'd take it.
That's, again, really, really, really good shout. And I think, again, a lot of very, very, very valid points about Carlos Puyol. He's a great leader of men, just very, very highly decorated in his career, both domestically and internationally as well. I think I was surprised when I found out that in my head, he was always about 6'2".
No.
But he's not. He's teeny, tiny, isn't he? He's a very, very small man. I've seen a photo of him. I used to have, when I was growing up, I had next door neighbors. They were like an elderly couple. One of their children had emigrated to Spain and married a lovely, lovely man from Spain. They lived just outside Barcelona. And every other Christmas, they used to come and visit, and they bring their kids with them, and their kids the same kind of age as me, Elizabeth and Laura, and a wonderful, wonderful family, really, really lovely people. Laura, who is not listening to this, but if she is, hi, Laura, how are you doing? She used to work in an airport just outside Barcelona, and a lot of Barcelona footballers would come through the airport, so she would stop them for a photo. And she posted a photo on social media once of her and Carlos Puyol, and not only was she taller than him, they also had exactly the same haircut, which I just thought was fantastic. So, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Is she on stilts? Is there a box that she stood on for this photo?" But no, she's pushing 6 foot, and he is not. But yeah, wonderful defender.
Apparently, you can be a central defender at 5'9". Ask Martinez at Man United, but Puyol basically did the same thing. So yeah, there you go.
Chiellini as well.
Chiellini, yeah, absolutely.
Baresi. Yeah, you know,
there's a few good ones out there.
Yeah, being big and tall does not necessarily a good centre back make. Although if you ask some managers, it helps. So there we go. Legend number 2, I suppose. Retiree number 2. Jeb, what have you got for us?
So I originally had, because I was using loopholes here, Zlatan's retired in my save, so I was going to put Zlatan in because he's big and he's horrible and he'll kick people and various other things. I figured that's the way I was going. But as we've had this discussion going on, somebody mentioned his name and it's going to work perfectly. Diego Armando Maradona, 2 seasons at Barcelona. Rest in peace and everything along those lines. He was the greatest player of all time up until probably the last 2 years, I would say. Like the stuff that he did, there was lots of controversies with him. I mean, he was at Barcelona for 2 seasons, scored a bag full of goals, had some big injuries. He played in El Clasico. He's one of the few players to get a standing ovation from the Bernabeu in El Clasico when he took it around all the players and then just basically stood on the ball in the line and then just kicked it over. And then there's his final match, which was the Copa del Rey Cup final, which just puts him in perfectly for this game, where he'd been previously injured by I think it was Bilbao they were playing, he'd been previously injured by him, and then the same player tried to injure him again in the Copa del Rey final, and Maradona just snapped and then an entire brawl broke out in a major cup final, and it got to the point where Maradona was just going around scissor kicking everybody like as hard as he can along those lines. So it'll be perfect when it all kicks off. Him and Suarez, what a beautiful combination up front that's going to be.
Yeah, I love that. Again, Jeb's taken this from 6-a-side football tournament to essentially just a war games match. Which again, if look at across it,
But in terms of skill and everything he can do, like I said, if Kev's got Messi, I've got Maradona. There we go.
Two things I want to say about Maradona at first, and that pick particularly. Firstly, I mean, as an Englishman, I always go back to the hand of God goal that is infuriating in every possible way. But then it's typical Maradona, isn't it? Because like 15 minutes later or whatever, he went, "Oh, I did that really awful thing. Now watch me do this really amazing thing in the same game."
Exactly.
You can't even go for too long before you go. He's not the just the pooey head that cheated a little bit with the hand of God goal. He took on the England team on his own and beat them, basically, which was really amazing to see. So, I mean, that's pretty spectacular in itself. The other thing I want to say is to Jeb specifically, have you been having a conversation with Tim Lewis, mate? Is this murder ball in 6-a-side that we're going for? I've got to come up against Tim tomorrow in the Winter Cup. He's going to boot my team all off the pitch. Have you been chatting with him? You must have.
No, I think it comes back to when we played 5-a-side. So when we were 17, 18 at Saltaire, played in that 5-a-side league that I spoke about. It was prison rules. It was ridiculous. Like when we first got those, just play every single, like the referee was like, play on. It was like, I broke my leg, play on. Go on, play on, guys, it's fine. And then it just ended up, and I think it's always ended up that way in 5-a-side, like particularly in the goals era and the Power League where you played in a cage, the amount of people that ended up against the boards and that type of thing. This is what you need. It's what you need in those type of things. Instead of being the weak team that sometimes I've ended up playing on, or people who need to get bashed around a bit, we're going to do the bashing around in our team.
It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. There's going to be blood. There's going to be bloodshed. It's going to be gruesome, and I'm excited by it. Very excited by it. I think I've got one more retiree to pick here. Now, I've got a defense. I've got Marcelo and I've got Pepe. I've got a midfield of Iniesta and Zidane. I need a keeper and I need a striker. I'm going to be using my last retiree pick as a striker. I'm a real life footballing person who is now retired up front. Now, the way I see it, a 6-a-side pitch, once you are in the opposition's half, to all intents and purposes, you are essentially, if this was a real life, a real size football pitch, you are in and about their penalty area, aren't you? Realistically speaking, given the size of these pitches. Mm-hmm. So there have been some prolific goal scorers in La Liga over the years. There have been some of the greatest who have ever done it. Kev's already got a Lionel Messi, a Benzema, players like Ronaldo, like Brazilian Ronaldo, good Ronaldo. There have been some world-class attacking talents. But for me, if I want somebody in the box who's going to score goals for fun, I'm going Ruud van Nistelrooy. Just prolific, a prolific goal scorer. Wonderful player. I remember being on holiday when I was a kid, and I was on holiday in Spain, watching his transfer, his original transfer to Man United, kind of breaking on things like Sky Sports News, and then the next day, I just remember seeing just non-stop footage of him just rolling around on a training pitch.
I remember that.
Yeah, which kind of delayed it by a year. And I remember the amount of coverage it got, because I was a younger person, I wasn't particularly conversant with a lot of European football, and I remember thinking to myself, if it's getting this much coverage and it's this important, he must be a really, really, really good football player. And as it turns out, he was just prolific goal scorer the whole way through his career. He did it in Holland, he did it in England, he did it for Real Madrid. He then carried it on in Germany after leaving Madrid. Like, prolific, wonderful goal scorer, lethal in the area. I think if he had the ball at his feet within the 18-yard box, chances were he was at the minimum going to test the keeper.
Didn't he famously didn't score outside the 18-yard box, if I remember, for Man United at least anyway. I think every single goal
Pretty
was within the 18-yard, yeah.
There was one goal. He scored once from outside the area. The only player to have done that, and I know this because trivia, Tim Cahill is the only player to have scored, he's the highest scoring player in Premier League history where all of his goals came inside the 18-yard box.
Wow. Good knowledge.
Yeah. Ruud van Nistelrooy scored one from outside the area. Because somebody asked me that question once. I think it was on stream. We were just having a trivia afternoon, and somebody asked that question, and I was convinced it was Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I didn't get Tim Cahill, which is why that information is stuck in my brain forever. But yeah, in this context, like six-a-side league, you want a prolific goal scorer. You want somebody who's going, like, if they can get the ball within 18 yards of the opposition goal, you want somebody who's just going to be a threat. And for me, I don't think it gets much better in that context than Ruud van Nistelrooy. Wonderful player.
Nice.
Good in the air as well.
Phenomenal. He was exceptional. He definitely was. I mean, watching him for United, as I did an awful lot, he was a class above. I wish that he had stuck around longer at United. He wasn't there for that long, really. But he was phenomenal and might even get into my possible top Man United 11 Premier League all-time 11, possibly. So there's a debate there, but yeah, really, really phenomenal striker.
So there you go. Well, my outfield is done. My outfield is sorted. Kev, who's next on your list?
So in one foul swoop, I'm going to combat the murder ball that Jeb has been putting with one player and the utter joy that he played the game with and the biggest smile in the world on a football pitch, and that is Ronaldinho. So alongside Messi's supporting Benzema, I want Ronaldinho. Just the skill, but the joy and the phenomenal player that he was. Watching him just destroy defenses as he would run through them and, pass through them and just do everything you need him to do. And he did it with the biggest beaming smile you've ever seen on a football pitch. So he's right up my street, of course, because I have to counteract the murder ball that I'm being dealt with by Jeb and his bunch of thugs. So who could possibly go and hack down beaming, smiling Ronaldinho? So he's going to be my pick alongside Messi behind Benzema. And I just think he's a phenomenal footballer. Can play on either wing, basically, or support the striker. And wherever you put him on a football pitch, you give him the ball, and it's so hard to get it off him. It's like it's glued to his feet, basically. Extraordinary. So, yeah, Ronaldinho, the smiling assassin.
What a great shout. Absolutely great shout. For the audio viewers, so audio listeners, Rich is about to do Ronaldinho hands. There you go. Can't say the name without it. If anybody says Ronaldinho to me, I just instantly just feel compelled to. It's brilliant. Yeah, he's again such a phenomenal player as well. I think it was just the ease that he played football with. I don't think he ever made it look difficult, which is, and to do that at the level that he did it at as well, at the highest level, both again domestically, internationally as well. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You don't see many players like it, like the skills, the trickery that he just incorporated into his game, and because it looked natural. It didn't look like he was trying to force it. It didn't look like a David Dunn. It
just looked
attempt.
like he was having the best time, didn't it? Basically, it just looked. This was where he was supposed to be doing what he was supposed to be doing, and he was having the best time doing it. And won lots of things too.
Which helps, which seems to be a cornerstone of Kev's team. Perennial winners, champions, if you will. Right, that's everybody's. We've done double legend pick now, haven't we? We've each got 5 players. Which leads us on to the bit I'm looking forward to the most, the wild card segment, because our final player, in honor of the player who's in PK's Kings League, who's playing under a mask, who could be anybody, who knows?
Enigma 69 to give him his name.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Different. Yeah. Good.
Is that really what it is?
Yeah. Enigma 69. Yeah. I know.
Enigma
Edgy.
69.
Extra edgy.
Edgy. Yeah, all it needs is 2 X's before it and after it, and that's a gamer tag as well. Imagine that.
Yeah.
1v1 me on Rust. There you go. That's what he should be telling people to do. Outstanding. So this is where everybody's team could change. You know, I would argue at the moment that, you know, the three of us have got 3 pretty well balanced teams. This final pick could be the one that tips it over the edge either way for any of us. Jeb, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I need another goal scorer. He got 46 goals throughout his career, and scored a hat trick. He also had a fight with Diego Maradona in his career that got him a 4-match suspension, so that might have to add the spice to it. We got a free kick in the, I don't know what we say in a 30-minute match, so let's say we got a free kick in the 29th minute. Up steps my masked player, Jose Luis Chilavert. He's my goalkeeper as well. He scored a hat trick. I didn't know he'd done that. I only found that out as I was looking out. As soon as I heard about it, also played in Spain as well, so he fills all the things. I could have actually been in my actual Lenten things. Yeah, an unbelievable goalkeeper. Also, Football Manager. I mean, 92, 93 database. Everyone went mental for him. Even in the later years, he still had 15, 16 on free kicks. He could take your penalties. You could get goals out of him up and down the pitch. And he was actually a really good goalkeeper. He was actually in the team of the tournament for the World Cup in '98 as well. He was also batshit crazy. Like,
he really was.
Just that time was. Yeah, he was called the Bulldog. That was his nickname. He, like I said, he had a fight with Asprilla. He had a fight with Maradona. He also faked a load of documents when he was at Strasbourg, so he got suspended prison sentence for that when he tried to claim his compensation. He's got all the lovely things. There was another one. I'm just let me just double check, where was it? It is. Oh yeah, he once also got a suspended prison sentence because he attacked his physiotherapist. I'm not sure how that way is, but there we are. And he also called the Copa America president corrupt on a live Paraguayan football broadcast. So it's like he'll cover it all.
Wow.
I mean, just to complete it off. But there you go. I've got an actual goalkeeper, but I've also got somebody who can step up and score some goals. I mean, between Maradona, Zidane, and Chilavert, I don't know who's going to actually take the free kicks. I mean, even Suarez can have a go as well. So there we are. It'll just be a fight. That's the best part.
Yeah, it's just going to be a brawl. It's going to be a brawl.
Yeah.
Any time you get an attacking set piece, it's going to be like that scene in The Dark Knight where Joker just like snaps that pool cue over his leg, and he's like, yeah, "There's one position going." Whoever survives the brawl gets to blast the free kick into the wall.
If that team's losing, just exit the area immediately, because you do not want to be in the car park afterwards.
No, you really don't. That's very true.
Leave early is my advice. Leave early in that scenario. Yeah, just get out. Just get out. I love that. I mean, I've got slight recency bias towards Chilavert. You know, I signed him last year in my my retro database save with Sheffield Wednesday. Shout out Mad Scientist for a wonderful database. In came Chilavert for the reason that I thought I'll get one of my set pieces, and it will be really, really funny just to watch me getting really excited every time I get an attacking free kick. And he spent 18 months at the club. He scored 1 free kick in a pre-season friendly against the League 2 team. Every other free kick that he took, he blasted straight into the wall every single time. Conceded 73. Yeah, he wasn't great in my save, but in real life, where it actually matters, wonderful.
He's peak of his powers in the next retro database. It's 98-99. That's when he was scoring.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, that one.
Yeah, exactly. That's when he might be like second or third best keeper in the world. So that should be very interesting.
Oh yeah, when that database comes out, I'm going to do the exact same thing again. Let's not kid ourselves. Exactly. It's the first thing I'm doing. Whoever I'm managing, I'm signing Chilavert and I'm putting him back on set pieces, because you know I'm a glutton for punishment. Jeb, like you, I need a goalkeeper. I think we've established my outfield is looking strong. I need a goalkeeper. I've had a big think about this because there are so many people that I think could do a job. So many just, you know, phenomenal goalkeepers from the history of world football that I think would come in and do bits. But I'm also an idiot So my last pick, I thought, we said these last picks, these could be the ones that could, tip the team one way or the other for, raging success or raging failure. My final pick, the man who is going to be playing under the mask in my team, my goalkeeper, is Danny DeVito. And it's Danny DeVito 4.
Really wish Kev didn't guess this beforehand, because this could have had
so
such
angry.
better impact.
When we were having a chat before we hit record, and because Kev wasn't particularly, we explained the concept of the Kings League to Kev, and then he was like, just to check, so everyone's like final play, is it a footballer or is it just some random person? Like, I don't know, Danny DeVito. But I'm having DeVito in net. I'm having DeVito in net. It's because we've got that beautiful Bond, Kev, and let's just not put it down to anything else apart from that. I want DeVito in net. I want DeVito in net for two reasons. Reason number one, as Jeb said earlier in the record, the goals in five-a-side are about kind of like hip height, aren't they? They're not particularly massive goals, so it's the perfect ratio for Danny DeVito. Like he's the right height for those goals anyway, so that's perfect. Secondly, and I think this is the most important thing, although I've publicly announced it's Danny DeVito now, because he's playing under a mask. If anybody asks if it's Danny DeVito, I'm just going to say no. I'm really sorry. It's clearly not Danny DeVito, the man with arguably the most, notorious body shape in Hollywood. I think if you saw Danny DeVito's silhouette, you would immediately go, well, that's clearly Danny DeVito. He's a small man with small legs and massive arms. I want Danny DeVito in goal because, I've come up with a competitive football team. I could have gone for a proper goalkeeper, but what I've done is in my head, I've gone, that's a little bit funny. I'll just go DeVito. So there we go. Danny DeVito in net. And say something. Plus, I've heard a rumor he can take a free kick.
I didn't know Danny DeVito was only 4'10". I thought him and Maradona would be like quite close to each other. Maradona's gonna be like a giant next to him.
Yeah, he's not a big man. He's not a big man as Danny DeVito, but he's also Danny DeVito. So why would you not want DeVito in net? Why would you not want that? But Kevin, furious that you guessed him.
Why indeed? I don't know what to say. It's really hard to express this to the viewers, the listeners, but we literally had this conversation. I had no idea this whole thing existed. And when you suggested that you were going down the slightly weird route, or that you could do, why I picked Danny DeVito as my thought, I have literally no clue, because my mind was going, who can I think of? And I thought of 2 or 3 other people, couldn't really, was that the right sort of thing to say? And he just popped out. I just literally no idea why. And it was your guy out of all the people in the world. It is just our special bond, Rich. That's all it is. There can't be anything else other than that.
Exactly.
But I am slightly freaked out by it, if I'm totally honest.
It's good, isn't it? It's good. Kev, your final legend. If you say because mine's Danny DeVito as well, then this is perfect. But well, who's your actual real life goalkeeper?
A bit like in the movie Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. If you put my final pick alongside Danny DeVito, nobody's going to be able to tell the difference at all. So a couple of parameters here. Remember, one, I didn't know that the lunacy of random people showing up in masks was happening in this Kings League, because I didn't know about the Kings League. So I chose a former goalkeeper because I wanted to win. But there is a second reason for it, and it's not just a bias towards him, because I have gone Peter Schmeichel. And the reason for it was I want to win. We talked about 98, 99 being this amazing database that the mad scientist is going to be doing, and Chilavert would be sort of second, third, fourth best goalkeeper in the world in it. Schmeichel is going to be number 1 best goalkeeper in the world of it, by the way, I would imagine. But here's my reason, and it is a very specific reason to choose him particularly over everybody else, is that he made his name originally, before becoming a professional footballer, playing handball in Denmark. And if you think about the size of a handball pitch and the size of a 6-a-side football pitch and what it entails, It's where he developed his amazing star jump save that he developed in his professional game as well, doing handball. And I reckon it's going to be really, really useful to have him in the goal. One, he's really good. And two, it's a kind of environment that I think he would feel comfortable in because of his experiences in handball. So my last pick, my non-playing, didn't play in Spain, but is an amazing goalkeeper in his day, and probably the best for me personally I've ever watched play, is Peter Schmeichel.
It's a great shout. It's a great shout. As you say, arguably one of the greatest of all time. That star jump save that you're talking about is so iconic. Like again, it's, you know, if I think of Pepe stood above somebody shouting at them because he's just, you know, snapped their leg in half, you know, Peter Schmeichel kind of in that arms and legs out everywhere, just making himself big. Like it's up there. And again, highly decorated, you know, one of the best goalkeepers in the world for a very, very long time as well. So that's not a bad shout, to be fair, Kev. Not a bad shout at all. Yeah, I think you've done quite well there. I think everyone's done well. Everybody's done well, and definitely not picked completely insane goalkeeper choices. Well done, everybody. There we go. Those are our teams. Those are our sides. What we will do is, as you are watching or listening to this, if you go onto our Twitter, which is at FMT Pod. If you go onto the old Twitter, you can vote in our. There'll be a poll up there, and you can do a vote. Find the Twitter, do a vote for who you think has got the best six-a-side team for the Ledley Kings League, and then
why it's the one with Danny DeVito in it.
And why it's the one with Danny DeVito in it. Exactly. A vote for me is a vote for Danny DeVito. There you go.
If I can get team names, I guess we don't need to do it right now. But if we can get team names, I'll make up some little graphics of all the teams as well. So
that'd be delightful.
Go on that, yeah. I think
that'd be lovely.
Nice little thing. Little Saturday afternoon project for me, and we'll go from there.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, there you go. We'll get some team. We'll think of a team name each, and then which bizarrely I didn't get that far. Because why would I? Why would I put proper thought into this when I came up with 90% of an idea, which for me, huge development. There we go. So
any team names that you reject or that you think of but you don't want to use, just give them to Rich because we'll use them as episode titles. So there you go.
Please. That's part of the process. That is definitely part of the process. There is nothing quite like I did when I took over, when I got into the hot seat. I did go back through a lot of correspondence with Tony and also with Matt from years ago, just going through all of the episode title ideas that I pitched him 2-3 years ago, probably 2 years ago, and just have a little look and see what was there and see if there was anything good. And so far, no, there hasn't been. There's been nothing. There's been nothing. It's just a sea of misery, is what it is. But so sorry, Matt, for sending that to you for so long. I apologise. So there we go. Do some voting. Do a democracy. Tell us who you think is the best and whose team would be the best. Lovely stuff. Now, before we wrap up, there is one more thing that we need to mention. When you are listening to this podcast, if you are on the Patreon, you will be listening to this podcast on the 23rd of January. If you are not on the Patreon and are watching on YouTube or listening on Anchor or Spotify or however you consume this podcast, you'll be listening on the 24th. End of this week in the future, on the 29th of January, we announced it last week. We are hosting Football Manager Therapy versus the Community, a lovely community draft competition. Would you like to come and play Football Manager with us? Of course you would. Let us know. Get in touch with us. Send us a DM. Do us a tweet. Chat to us on Discord. Chat to us on Patreon. Send a carrier pigeon. Hire a skywriter. Develop telepathic ability and just inject it straight into my brain. Any of these things are viable. But we won't accept anything else that I haven't listed. Do it. Let us know. We'd love to play FM with you. It's going to be for fun. It's not going to be serious. It's not ranked unless, again, I emphasize I win. Then I will be getting in touch with the FM rankings and saying, hey, I won a competition. Can you please give me some points? I would appreciate it. But we're going to have a nice time. I love a community draft. Who doesn't love a community draft? There's so many good ones out there. We thought we'd muddy the waters with our own. So please come play FM with us. It's going to be great fun. We're going to have a lovely time. we'd like to see you there. So if you're interested,
can we make sure that Jebaru's not in charge of the player pool, please? Because otherwise it'll only be players with aggression of over 18, and I just couldn't cope.
That's so nice. Yeah, I was going to say that'd be great. Yeah, aggression over 15. Like the final. Oh, it's greyed out players versus greyed out players because everyone else is suspended.
Exactly. Yeah, the winner. It's not goals. It's red cards. That's the. That's the metric for defining success. So yeah, come hang out. We'll have a lovely time. Aside from that, though, I don't know how you both feel, but I reckon that's a podcast.
I reckon it is. I think you're right.
Good. That feels like a podcast to me. I've had a wonderful time. I really enjoyed that. That was good fun. That was great.
I've had a really lovely time. Can I just say, for all the listeners out there, specifically just on Sunwatch, it's just gone in and it's changed the look of my screen quite considerably. So just so you know, there you go.
There we go. We, if there's time, we might just get some screen grabs of Kev throughout the podcast. It's now he's thinking about Jeb's really, really aggressive team. He's gone from his team of winners. Now he's thinking about violence. The sun's gone in and it's all gone a little
dark
bit.
Clouds.
The darkness is encroaching. Please don't let it encroach any further because Kev, we need you to be happy. Please be happy. You are the happiest man I know. And I need that in my life on a regular basis. If I wanted to experience that joy on a regular basis, Kev, where could I find you exuding it online?
You see, he started off with an awful segue at the beginning of the podcast and now has just redeemed it with a fantastic one. What a genius move that was. Hook, line, and sinker. Very nice. You can find me at the United City FM, both on Twitter and Twitch. I don't really do an awful lot on Twitter, if I'm totally honest, but I am there or thereabouts, and my DMs are always open if you want to come and have a chat for any reason. You can find me, though, every weekday afternoon, 3 till 5 p.m. UK time, over on Twitch, where we're still struggling to figure a way out of Ukraine in our Homeward Bound challenge. But this week, I reckon we might just do it. There's been some stuff happening that I reckon we've got a good chance. So come and join us this coming week and see if we can get out of Ukraine and move towards our destination of back in England. So yeah, that's where you'll find me. Thanks for having me again. Always a joy to be here. Always a joy to spend a couple of hours with you guys. So yeah, good to see you as always.
Beautiful. Spoiler alert, Kev is about to sell a player for £88 million to Chelsea, but in real life. Jeb, if they wanted to see you doing some wonderful Pescara business online or some role play or all the other lovely things you like to do, where can they find you doing that?
Twitch.tv/Jebaru. I'm usually done by the time the podcast's out for the week, but we might get a few more streams in next weekend, to be fair, because I'm home alone for the weekend, so that's always an exciting thing as well. No, so right, anyway, there you go. I've done the Kevin McAllister side of things. Also, twitter.com/TheJebaru. And yeah, that's where you can find me. We've all had to go in some competitive drafting recently. Where could we find somebody else doing competitive drafting, Rich?
That's me. Hello. Yeah, I'm doing some drafting this week. Come and check me out, twitch.tv/RichOwensFM. I'll be taking part in Football Manager Top Manager on Friday night. So I'm very, very excited to get my competitive draft on. It's going to be good fun. It's going to be really, really good fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I've got a plan. I'm a man with a plan this time, so we'll see how it goes. Come and watch it all unravel spectacularly on Friday night, please and thank you. I'd appreciate your participation. Failing that, you can find me on Twitter, which is at RichOwensFM on there as well, where I'll be talking about where you can come and find me on Twitch. So the system works. It's a beautiful, beautiful system. This has been great fun. I've had a lovely, lovely time this week.
I don't want to talk to anyone because Chelsea have just got 1-0 up after 2 minutes, so I'm fuming now. So I'm off. Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for listening. It's been lovely to spend some time in your company. We'll see you very, very soon for another episode of Football Manager Therapy. Take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.